I was somebody that wanted to say the right thing at the right time, wanted to make you feel happy at my expense. And that story goes on. And drinking and popping pills really seemed to heal that.
Don't Hide the Scars, a weekly podcast focused on addiction and recovery. Created by the nonprofit PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, and founded by Flindt Andersen.
Adam Jablin, thank you for joining, founder of Parents and Addicts in Need. Flindt Andersen, myself on Don't Hide the Scars.
And you're?
Oh, I'm Jason LaChance.
There we go. Okay.
Sorry. Forgot myself.
And you're?
Flindt Andersen.
Flindt Andersen.
And you are?
I'm Adam Jablin.
There we go. We got
welcome to Don't Hide the Scar.
That's the best intro we've ever had right there.
We'll switch roles today.
Guys, thank you for having me on. Honestly, I do love your show. I follow you guys for quite a bit, so it's an honor to be on.
Oh,
thank you so much.
Of course, the book, which we'll probably talk some of out of there, Lotsaholic. I am doing the Audible, and boy, it's one of those things, Flindt. You know, when you just like Adam, I hit it off with you right away when we had met virtually, and then hearing the book, I'm like, oh my gosh, like between the wanting to give you a hug. When you lost your grandmother, feeling all those same feelings and that recovery process, especially I'm at where you're really establishing boundaries, which is such a hard thing, I think, as a human, let alone when you get into recovery.
Yeah. Those recovery things, Adam, are tough, man. When did you, when were you in your recovery and you started to set those boundaries? I'm interested in the year.
So it was in 2006 that I was even introduced to the work. I mean, Flindt, like, honestly, the whole recovery, I didn't know anything about it. I had nobody in recovery. I think you all know, like, we have our own language. I actually even remember after like my first year saying to my ex-wife, like, I have a resentment against you, and her being like, who speaks like this? Are you angry? Are you mad? Are you trying to say you're mad? You know what I mean? We have our own language. Yeah. So I didn't really know what a boundary was. But I started implementing that in at least the idea of we need to have a healthy place of where I stop and you start. We need to figure out where that is. Probably the first year of recovery, by trial and error, sometimes putting walls too high, and sometimes building bridges that shouldn't have been there. But I think that's part of the experience.
Sure. Absolutely. But that brings up a great point because, I can just speak for me, but I know the rest of us have that guilt, all right, for all of our using and drinking and damage and chaos and bullshit that we caused, over the years. And to even have the thought of starting a boundary, especially with like your wife, okay, is like, God, do I even do this? I mean, I felt like I didn't even have that right to put up boundaries with anybody, let alone my wife.
It's so challenging because, first off, I'll speak for myself, but I heard you say it. Like we feel like we were just so low, and what we did, and the lying and the manipulating it, and now we start to get healthy and realize, oh, okay. Well, a lot of the things I was doing is because I don't have the courage to say no. So what I'm doing is I'm people pleasing, and I'm putting on a fake mask. And then when you're not in the room, I hate the way I feel. So and it's just really tough to find your balls in the beginning. But I think if you have the right mentor and you have
mine were in my wife's purse, by the way.
Mine could fit the thimble.
Yeah. So it's very funny because mine was in my wife's top drawer. It's an interesting thing in how when we have to get healthy, we realize all of the character values that we were lacking. Just like by even being able to say no, like really, we all were able to just say, no, thank you. Why would we even need a boundary? right? Because you're so healthy and you're in such integrity, and you don't need to build a boundary because you communicate so beautifully to people. There's no need. But I was somebody that wanted to say the right thing at the right time, wanted to make you feel happy at my expense. And that story goes on and on. And drinking and popping pills really seemed to heal that.
Absolutely. You know, my people pleasing, though, this is kind of weird. Maybe you guys will get it. Was more towards for people outside of my family. I could have, or I did. It's not that I put up boundaries with my family. I was still in those early days. Well, I can still be an asshole. But I really was kind of an asshole during those early days of recovery. But for somebody outside that family, my God, I wanted to people please. And even to this day, I have a tendency to people please more in business and people that I'm not even that close with. You know, I think we all want that feeling to be liked, you know, and somehow, I mean, that's still some stuff I got to get past.
Well, so for me, I like using common language, but you may be like this, and Jason, you may be like this too, because sometimes I need somebody older and wiser than me to break things down. The three of us may actually totally agree on this. I really wasn't a people pleaser by the definition that other people, not us in recovery, would use outside. As in, I like the Yankees. If you said you like the Cubs, I'm not going to go, I like the Cubs, right? Like, I'm not going to, right? But I did have a Superman complex, which when I felt like I had to be there and save the day and be there for everybody and always create harmony. Like, that was my job. You know, I somehow had to get Trump and Obama to agree. Like, all of this, right? And especially that feeling outside of the family, right? Like, just overextending yourself, trying to make everything harmonious. But I wasn't a people pleaser to the point that if you said you like pickles, I don't like pickles, I'm just going to lie to you because I want to be liked. Right. And I had to redefine all of these. You know, first I need the common language, which is people pleaser. And then I go look even deeper, like, what was that? And it wasn't that. I think I just constantly wanted harmony. I just didn't want confrontation, and it doesn't exist. Sometimes you have to deal with confrontation, and you have to deal with differences of opinion, and you have to know how to control your emotions and differences of opinions. And guys, I didn't have the equipment, until I got sober. Like, I just wasn't downloaded with that stuff.
Right. Well, you know, even today, I as much as you may think differently, I don't like confrontation. You know, I mean, I'm good. I'm good at starting it. Okay. But if it's coming back at me, then I'm not that big of a fan, because I think I always have to just one up somebody, and I have to get louder, and my voice gets louder and louder and louder until it's like I'm sitting there going, what are you doing?
So you're good.
You know?
So what you're saying is I'm good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get that all the time. And again, especially doing business on a daily basis with some of the challenges that we all have, you know, in doing business. Sometimes you have to be confrontational. You know, it's how you do it. It's all about how you do it, though.
It's how you do it. It's healthy to have a difference of opinions. It's healthy to be able to see from another's point of view. And it's healthy just to be able to grow. I mean, if the three of us all just had like the same thing, want to do the same thing, like the same movies, like life would be really boring. As a matter of fact, nobody would listen to the show. Like, it'd be like, what's the point? You know, I'd like to say for myself in recovery, I just didn't know how to communicate in a way that was healthy.
Right. So
when confrontation came, it was win at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
That's not healthy.
No, it's not.
You know, and meanwhile, I'm also then after the confrontation trying to act like I'm the sweetest guy in the world. Well, it's like, well, Adam, pick a personality. You know what I mean? Are you this ruthless killer that has to win the debate, or are you this sweet guy? And I kid you not, guys. Like, it took me a long time to get comfortable in my own skin.
Sure. I think it did for all of us.
Oh, I'm still working on it.
I don't think that ever goes away. I really don't.
New Perceptions North, the premier drug and alcohol treatment and recovery center in Central California. A full continuum of medically supervised, top quality care with programs for detox, inpatient residential treatment with dual diagnosis, intensive outpatient treatment, sober living, support groups, and more. With 50 plus years of combined experience and sobriety, Flindt, Andersen, and Thelma Gatlin Wilson provide adult men and women with the highest caliber of professional health care, treating each client with compassion and respect, and a safe, comfortable environment to begin the process of recovery. To proudly create and sustain a life without addiction, call 559-978-1507 or visit newperceptionsnorth.com.
You know, I mean, I've got coming on 22 years of recovery, and there's still times when I'm not comfortable in my own skin.
Sure.
You know, I mean, I know how to deal with it, I think, you know, a little bit better than I used to, but still there are moments when it's like, holy shit. I mean, I get real uncomfortable.
Yeah, I do too. But I think, you know, if it were just us buddies, I think I would, you know, not your show, which I'm humbled to be a guest on. I think I would challenge you of like, you know, are those uncomfortable? Like, you seem very comfortable in your. I think 22 years clean and sober, you know who you are. I mean,
Sure.
What we were talking about before the show, and what you know your mission and you know your purpose. And I think you know, sometimes we don't give ourselves the credit, because when we meet people that are really uncomfortable in their own skin, we can tell. You know, we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I think at times we're uncomfortable, but I think you're always probably Flynn through and through. You know, you did the work. You know, you have a right, and so I hope you hear that as a compliment and not me challenging you. But but in the beginning, I mean, sincerely, guys, if I heard something that was really disruptive inside, it didn't sit well. You know, I could be sitting there smiling, but want to kill you.
Right.
You know, I mean, the emotion didn't even match the circumstances.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you a bullshit face. I'm fuming inside, which is a total exaggerated way to feel over something so silly. I mean, I was like, that weird.
Well, it's a big club. Okay.
Well, I can show you my membership card. You know,
We're gonna get jackets. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe the nice satin ones. Like
yeah. Oh yeah. You know, with like St. Andrews. You know, with the little. Exactly.
I love it.
Oh shit, howdy. Yeah, I think I still struggle in some ways, but it was something that you actually said to me, and you may not remember. But it was kind of a calling me on my bullshit. You were like polite about it. You're like, hey, I'm going to call you on your bullshit politely. But it helped me with, like you were talking about, reframing stuff in that, okay, is this a big deal or is this a minute deal that I just want to be right and righteous? Mm-hmm. And so that's helped me navigate that a lot different. You know, I've got things going on with my kids. Big deal. You know, tire's a little bit low and I'm going to be 5 minutes late. Minor little thing, not to sit and go and blow up on the world over, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think we all get kind of closer and develop real relationships when somebody cares enough about you. You know, I'm so close with my mentor and people that have challenged me, because they made me not sit in my old ideas and allow myself to think like I'm, you know, right. You know, right. And having those, what we want to call breakthroughs, those minor breakthroughs time and time again, you start realizing, oh, you know, that person really cared about me. Like they were trying, they wanted the better for me. They weren't trying to challenge me. They were trying to let me see it from a different perspective. And when you do the work and then you have that breakthrough, you start almost doing it on your own. You know, you start, you know, if you heard my head, you think I'm crazy, because a lot of times I'm asking myself questions of like, is what's going on in my head? Like, is this true? Like, is this even true what I'm thinking? And a lot of the times it's not.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to do. But I do want to talk, of course, the book Lotsaholic, clarifying what that is for people that may not have heard it, but I know what it is.
So
I love the title, by the way. I just do. Yeah.
So I came into rehab thinking basically thinking these guys are nuts. Okay. And yeah, I may have a problem with alcoholism, and I take too many drugs here and there. But hey, I'm a little different, and I was at a lunch in the family program. So in this program where I went to treatment, which is called the Hanley Center, what they would do is they would bring in family members of your fellow inmates.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You sat with, so now you're sitting with your other people's families. And by the way, when it's their turn to do the family program, they're sitting with yours. But the idea is that they get to see a perspective of what it's like to be an alcoholic and an addict that's not so personal, right? It's not their kid, it's not their husband, it's not it's from somebody else's perspective. And we get to see what the family feels like.
Right.
That's not our family. So we get to see, oh my God, I'm hurting you this way, I'm hurting you that way. It's a really healthy way to heal. Meanwhile, we're at the table and I'm very into health and I'm very into fitness and I'm eating like very, very clean, or what we call clean. And somebody at the table was eating donuts, and a parent, they were eating just pasta ravioli with chocolate milk and stuff like that. and they pointed to me because they could see how I kept my body, and they were like, what's with him? And a buddy of mine at the time said, oh, he's the worst of us. And I couldn't understand what he said. I'm like, excuse me? He goes, yeah, he's a Lotsaholic. Right. And I looked at him, I said, what's a Lotsaholic? He goes, well, everything Adam does, it's a lot. Everything. So he's the first one at prayer. He's the first one at meditation. He's 5 minutes early for every 12-step meeting. He eats clean. He trains 3 times a day. Like he's the worst of all. He's basically what it is I'm excessive.
Right.
I'm an excessive, extreme alcoholic. And what was healthy about that was I actually thought all alcoholics and addicts were like me. Mm. I didn't realize that there are people that come into recovery that are just flat out lazy.
Right.
That don't have that drive.
Right.
That don't have that ambition, that aren't wired like that. I thought, oh, these are my people. We're all nuts. Right. No, there's quite a few of us that think like this. They're very extreme, but that's not necessarily the case. So I had to, again, learn where I stop and you start.
I love that. And by the way, when you were explaining that, I was at Betty Ford, my last treatment center back in 2001, and they do that family group, and I call the people there inmates as well. I always have, and and all of a sudden but see, I have a little different take on that little scene down there, okay? Because here you are, you're sitting in a room with the rest of the inmates and their families, and now I'm put in the middle of the room in one chair. I had one son that went down there. My oldest son didn't want to go because he didn't want anything to do with me at the time, and my wife, and they have to sit there and have to tell you about their feelings and how they're dealing with all this. And I couldn't respond though. Mm-hmm. I had to sit there and take it. And I'll
torture.
tell you,
that sounds like torture.
It was torture. It's first of all, I don't understand how a treatment center could even put either side in that situation so early in. You're not even in recovery yet. You're just coming out of detox, basically. And how does that brain even know how to have a normal conversation with anybody, let alone now you're going to get hammered by everybody? My comeback was, claws out, voice raised, out of my chair. I even think people had to sit my ass down physically because I couldn't take it. Some of that stuff I think is just kind of wrong in treatment today. I know I went off a little bit there, but Adam, that little thing you said just sent my ass flying there for a minute. So
I think I probably would have handled it exactly the way you did. That's torture. That's just torture. And that's a lot to process when we're getting sober.
Right.
Boy, they must have kicked my dad out of Betty Ford already, because we didn't have that happen. My dad was there, but they dual diagnosed, the drug addiction and sex addiction as well. So I think it's like, you need to go somewhere else. We have celebrity women here.
Yeah, so, please, we'll pay for it.
Right. I think that's exactly what happened. So how now? I mean, you're still such an incredibly driven, motivated person, you know, with the coaching and working with people one-on-one groups, you know, the Hero Project, how do you kind of keep that in check then? Because I'm opposite. I was probably a medium achiever, but I'm going more towards it. And I get fearful of it becoming obsessive.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, talk about one day at a time. It's truly that. I mean, obviously, I shouldn't say obviously. I don't know every guest that you've had, but I love my 12-step fellowship for me personally. I am a believer, so that faith is very difficult to explain, but I pray and I meditate, and I know I'm not the one in charge, and I'm just trying to do the best I can. I still can overdo it. Just by DNA, if you want to say, I can over deliver every time, overwork, but it's a practice to realize what's really important and to make sure that I'm doing that in all areas of my life, not just helping others, not just service, not just because, honestly, with somebody with my personality, that could become an addiction too. It's just a way. I feel so good helping another soul. It's another way of getting out of self and sometimes not dealing with what I have to deal with at that time. So, Jason, I'm being very long-winded in trying to explain that I'm growing up. It's really, I'm growing up.
Yeah. Right. One of the things, I don't know about you, Adam, but I have a tendency, and I really have to look at this hard. I'm a lot like you in that I love what I do. I love helping people. I love when somebody succeeds. I'm compassionate when they don't. I will get up on Christmas morning and go help somebody. And I know, Jason, we've talked about this before. And I tell people that want to work in this field, industry, whatever the hell you want to call it, be careful that you're not always putting your family second. Because we do have that passion to do it, and our families love what we do, but there's a but there. There's a line that we have to draw sometimes. Could I have gone later? Could I have put it off another day? Those kinds of things, because I have in the past put my family second in this. And that is something that I don't recommend for anybody.
I agree. And I'm sure if I look back, there were moments that I had too. And I'm sure, Flindt, both of our intentions were pure.
Right.
I think when you're wired the way we're wired, it's just very difficult to know when to turn it off. And,
right.
If I'm on a basketball court, I do not have that killer instinct like Michael Jordan. To be honest with you, he's my favorite athlete of all time. But if you would ask me, I probably would be more like Magic, and I like to share and play and smile. But I think when it comes to recovery, a lot of us have that Michael Jordan thing. Where we don't know how to turn it off.
Right.
We don't know how to turn it off. If you ever read, they're really wonderful interviews that I love. I love studying his life. You get to see the evolvement of Michael Jordan. And later in his life, he called it a curse. Because it's great when you're on the basketball court. It makes you a winner. But what happens when you're off?
Right.
Yeah. So what you and I have is this blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Our hearts are in the right place, but shut it off.
Yeah, exactly. And Jason knows this. Something happened today, where this happened to be my very first client, and his family, and this young man died yesterday, and it wasn't from an overdose. He was an opioid addict. Way back when I believe he was like 38 years old. But he switched addictions and got into alcohol, but took it to such an extent to where he literally died from the health issues relating to the drinking at 38. And I found that out this morning, and the first thought that goes through my head was, damn it, was there something else I could have done?
Right.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, was there something else I could have done? Something else. I even text his mother that, you know, and she said, no, you did everything that you could. And again, it wasn't about me. It was about her and her family and dad and sisters, you know, but we all have to be careful in that too. I do believe.
Oh no, I heard you. You were identifying a characteristic. You weren't making it about you. It was just that's where your heart was. I understood.
Right.
Well, and I think that's the hard thing is that this is life or death.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I had a situation, some young guy, and he moved Midwest. And so we were talking every day, and he had called, but through one of the social media apps, which I have that off, that alert, because otherwise, yeah, my brain, too many alerts, drives me nuts. And I haven't heard from him since, you know, so then it makes my mind wander. Goodness, you know, did he relapse? Is he alive? You know, with like fentanyl out there, car fentanyl, and you know. He was a snorter, so who knows, man? You know,
we got to first. Oh, by the way, Flindt, my condolences on that client and Jason. I get it. I totally get it. And I think anybody that has our hearts thinks like that.
Yeah.
But it kind of goes. You know, what I try to always remember doesn't mean I'm an expert at it, but you know, we really don't get anyone sober, and we also don't get anyone to relapse. Like we're just a vessel, and we're here to do a job. But at the end of the day, these are their choices.
Yeah.
Because you know, Flindt and I, Jason and I, we don't get to take the credit for all the people we helped.
Right.
Oh, you're sober because of me. Like that would be such a, you know, that's nonsense.
Right.
So,
it is.
So, but it's interesting how that it also goes to people that pass away. Like that's both ways. It's not our fault.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, if I can lead somebody, and I think that's where I've always come from. I'm trying to lead somebody down our path, and I can only lead them so far. I can only lead a parent so far in the parent's recovery in this. Because Adam, we have family support meetings on Wednesday nights. We've had them for 13 years, and it's strictly parents and family members of the addict. The addict does not even show up to this thing, and it's to get them through this. And we do things totally different than Al-Anon or any other group. We crosstalk, we throw it out there, we cry, we bitch, we moan, we yell, we scream, we laugh, we do all of it in there. And I mean, when somebody new walks in, a lot of the other families that have been there a while, they're just got to sit back going, okay, when's he going to start? When's he going to start with, you know?
Well, you had last week, there was a new family, and the wife was on board where she was like, cut it off, and trying to get the husband on board. And if I remember correctly, they checked out of the meeting. It seemed an argument ensued with them, and they're like, you know, the dad didn't want to recognize. And I get, as a father, if my children fell into addiction, it would be hard to, you know, sorry. But again, it's life or death.
Yeah, exactly. But again, my point to all that is that we can only lead them to a certain point.
Sure.
No matter what our style is, no matter, you know, what you know, how we do it. And then the rest is in their hands and what they want to do with it.
Couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And so it's you know, my mentor told me it's three of us to a T, right? We have an over exaggerated sense of responsibility.
Oh, great way to put it.
When he said that, I was like, that's exactly what he's like, you know, and the way he worded it was, I overestimate my power and I underestimate God's power. Right? And when he was showing me that, you know, sometimes you just need the right person at the right time to say the right words for it to sink in. And those really stuck with me. You know, I think that's what we're saying. When we think we're responsible, we have an over-exaggerated feeling of responsibility. Like it's like if you know, look what we're doing in today's day and age. And I heard you guys speaking about the weather before. Like if the Zoom went out, and then to think it's my fault.
Right.
You know, that's an over-exaggerated sense of responsibility. Like, you know what I mean? I know how to click on. I don't know how to. So, but I think the three of us, look what you guys are doing. Don't hide the scar. I think the three of us have such a mission, a purpose, that talk about boundaries. I think sometimes we don't see the lines. And
we don't.
And I think there's something I'm proud of the three of us for. And it's also that Michael Jordan, and I think we're cursed.
Sure.
I think we're cursed.
Right. Well, when you talk about Jordan, I mean, it's yeah, and I've read some of that stuff about him. Everything, it seems, for him is a competition.
Correct.
Everything. Can he get to the bathroom before anybody else in his family? I mean, his betting on the golf course. I've read stories where he literally has, he's got a basketball game that night. He played 18 holes in the morning, lost the bet, and wanted to play a few more holes before he actually went to the game, where he just happened to score 52, and grabbed, 12 rebounds and, 18 assists.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, wow. I'm not that good at anything. Okay. that he does.
Or maybe you are at this.
Yes. And I get that mentality. I get that thought. I mean, Adam, I'll never forget this. And again, I'm not blowing my own horn. My partner I own a treatment center as well. And I have a partner that is a lady named Thelma Wilson. She's just amazing. She's just an amazing woman. She's 72 years old. She's 18 years old from the neck up. Okay. And she's just this beautiful, beautiful lady. But she used to be in Los Angeles, and I actually talked her into moving to Fresno to start this thing. I remember one day, because I probably referred 1,500 people to her over the last 10 years to her treatment facility. And I remember, you talk about just psycho, because I would take people down there. So I got a call from these parents. I met with the parents. I met with the kid. I did a little intervention on him right there. And I called up Thelma. I said, I'm on my way. I'll be there in 4 hours. Open the door, because I'm going right back to Fresno. I spent 3.5 hours. I drove straight through. I dropped the kid off. On the way back, I get a phone call from another parent. I said, meet me at my office at whatever time it was, 4:00 in the afternoon. I meet the parent at 4:00 in the afternoon with their kid. I had his ass in the car going back to LA the same day. So I went to and from LA 4 times in one day. Up, back, up, back. That's nuts.
And also, it's funny, right? Since I'm wired like you, I hear passion. I hear a guy that's willing to do anything to stop somebody that suffered the way he suffered. That's what I hear. But I do know that many of our loved ones will look at us and be like, "You guys are fucking nuts." But that's why. I don't believe it's a curse, but it's a good word.
Yeah, it is.
That passion it makes you do extraordinary things.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for that, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. I meant it. I totally meant it.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call Parents and Addicts in Need at 559-579-1551 or check us out online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media at Pain Nonprofit. Please subscribe to the podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. To donate, please click the link in the description and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.
Another great thing in the book that stuck with me was where, you were in rehab and you kind of started, you went from group leader and, you kind of started taking on these leadership roles. And it was interesting how the staff kind of messed with your defects a little bit there. But at the end of it, they said, we did this because we saw that you did the work. And I think that's why it's such a poignant thing. And I've heard you say it to people, Flindt, and me in meetings to me, and I verbalize. At the end of the day, it really does fall on personal responsibility.
Yeah, and you're right about that. They were messing with me because I did not want to be the leader, and I wanted to get the hell out of there. That really, one of my MO was, man, get me the hell out of here. And look, you guys have a podcast and flourishing businesses. There's a leadership quality that the three of us have And I really did not at that time want to harness it. And maybe for the idea that, like, God, that would mean I'm really one of these people, like,
Right.
like not only am I, not only am I one of these people, they see me as like a leader here, geez, like, great, Captain Alcoholic. But, I think when you have the right, Flindt, like you were for those young men that you just drove, and Jason, like some of the things that you and I have shared privately, I think if you have the right people with love, just challenging you at the right way that you could see things from a higher perspective, a different perspective, it's so healthy.
Yeah.
It's just so healthy. And that's really been one of the major themes of my recovery is growing and not staying put and trying to get better every day and learn every day and be open, not closed, which, by the way, was very challenging me in this whole coaching thing. Becoming a coach challenged a lot of my ideas and beliefs. Example number one would be, I believe recovery is recovery from all substances.
Yes.
Not realizing sometimes you're going to coach people that, they really just want to get off the Ambien and Xanax, but they can have a glass of wine. And to them, that's recovery. Right. And, so now I have to split my personalities, because to me, in recovery, that is not my recovery.
Right.
However, they're not in 12-step fellowships. They're not in this. They're not in that. And they're asking for help with this thing, and I'm there to help this thing. And for them, that's their recovery. I mean, I probably wrestled with that for about a year. That was not like a one-day thing for me.
Right.
So I mean, like, oh, wow, there are people wired in a way that actually need to come off of this, but can enjoy this. Like, I'm like an all or nothing guy.
Right.
Same.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Same.
So that was, but I had to be open, and I had to grow, and I had to understand that my way, maybe it's like the three of us, it's our way, and we have people in our community that think and believe like us, but we don't get to tell everybody what it is.
Right.
And that was a tough one. And there's been other things like that I had to grow. And it just, when someone challenges your belief systems like that, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, I was not in favor of Narcan 8-9 years ago being sold to the general public or be given to the general public. Not at all. In fact, I even stood up at the National Drug Conference in Atlanta to a group that was discussing it. There was a panel because at that point it was not being given to the general public, just first responders had it. And then you had your family from the bunch of women from the Boston area that wanted it. And I won't get into the whole thing that I said, but in essence, what I said was, you're allowing your kid to use heroin in your house. And now you want Narcan to revive him in case he overdoses. And I said, why would he ever want to get clean? But in today's world with fentanyl, carfentanil, iso, niacin, all these other extremely potent opioids out there, Narcan is a must for every house, every business, every school, every classroom, in order to save that life. I just want people to understand that Narcan is not a fix-all. It's a Band-Aid. It's simply to bring that person back if you can get to them in time. The rest of the bullshit is gonna follow here. But to your point that, yeah, I changed. You know what? We sometimes we have to. I mean, I've been to refuge recovery meetings. I've been to celebrate recovery meetings. I'm a 12-step guy, Adam. I mean, that's my background.
I heard it in your languaging, so I knew.
Right. So, but I've been to these other ones because I wanted to see them. There's people there that don't like 12 steps. And again, you want to hang a dead cat over your bed and practice voodoo? Fuck, I don't care. Okay. Just get sober. But I do want to say this though. I'm sitting down at Betty Ford, and all these guys are down there, and as everybody's getting ready to leave, all these people wanted to go out in the world and they wanted to help other addicts and they wanted to become counselors, and I'm sitting there going, this is the last thing that I want to do in this. I want to get back to my life. I want to get back to my business. I want to get back to playing golf, blah, blah, blah. But all of a sudden, look what happens. 7 years later, okay, this thing starts up. So we don't know sometimes where we're going to wind up. But my advice to people in this, if you're going to get into this, do one thing, and that's tell the fucking truth. End of story.
That's it.
Tell the truth.
Ladies and gentlemen, we were glad you got to listen to this podcast. That's the whole fucking thing. Tell the fucking truth. We appreciate it. This has been Flindt, Jason, Adam, Jablin. You're 1,000% right. That's it. That's it. Fucking it. Right. I don't know why us alcoholics and addicts have such a hard fucking time with that, but that's it.
I mean, when somebody in our business says, "Oh yeah, I know this treatment center. They can fix you. They can cure you." Bullshit. Okay, you can't. There is no cure for this. It's manageable. It's doable, but you have to do the work. Again, I'm not going to get into the whole thing because I know I'm going to bore you. Okay, no, okay. But again,
I want to know what this whole thing is. What is it?
Oh no, because a lot of times I get fired up over people in general that jump into this, again, field, industry, whatever you want to call it, and all of a sudden they're an expert on everything. Okay, they're an expert on everything. They're all of a sudden they're experts on harm reduction. They're experts on treatment centers. They're experts on this and that and the other thing when they don't know dick about anything.
One of the things I say a lot, Flindt, just because this is how much I agree with you, and some people don't like that I say it, but I have to stay true to myself. I like to say, stay in your fucking lane.
Right.
Stay.
Right.
I am not an expert on those things. You know what I mean? And guess what? Tom Brady doesn't go play receiver.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like stay in your fucking lane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And because a lot of people in this, they make their decisions based on emotion. Okay. They really do. If somebody lost a child to an overdose, let's say, they're going to be all over long-term harm reduction. Okay. Because they're going, and again, I see their side of it. I'm not being dispassionate towards somebody, but long-term harm reduction is doing what? It's keeping somebody just above ground. Look, the kid that died today died of the results of his addiction.
Flindt, I got a question. I mean, granted, I'm the guest here, but I'm just so curious. Where does that fire and passion come from? What is that? Is that something you always had? Did you experience some pain? You always had it. You always had it.
I've always been kind of a fired up guy to begin with.
Yeah, but this is like, I mean, but I feel this. I really feel like this is like somebody that experienced, that's why I was asking. I mean, I know I'm the guest.
No, you can ask whatever you want, Adam.
But that I admire it.
Well, thank you. I think a lot of it comes from almost guilt because I shouldn't be alive. I was taking 80 pills a day, 80 Vicodin a day in the last 2 years of my using. I was throwing down more cocaine, more pills, more alcohol, more this, more that, than shit. I mean, I've had 35 surgeries in the course of my life. I've had 2 heart attacks.
We're going to be good friends, dude.
So that's where the passion, I think, comes from.
I hear it.
Yeah, that I got, and I don't want somebody else to go through what I went through.
That's right. The suffering. Yeah, 100. That's what I feel from you. I feel I don't want somebody to suffer. That's what I actually hear. I didn't know we would get there, but that's what I hear. I don't want to. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Right.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I hear it, and I admire it. I have I was at a meeting. My mentor is 83. He's got 53 years clean and sober.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's like us, right? He's like us. And so a lot of these other old timers are like, how do you keep that like enthusiasm, that passion? And he's like, I'm more enthusiastic now about it than I was. Right. But it's interesting for many people as time goes on, this becomes kind of like it's like brushing my teeth, making me So read my daily thing. You know, it's like, well, that sounds awful. You know what I mean? Like where's we're not a glum lot. You know what I mean? Like where's the zest, the love? Where you've got that fire, and please, for the love of God, don't ever lose it. It's beautiful.
Oh no! You know what I was going to do today? I obviously I play golf. That's my thing. That's I'm shitty at it, but I love it. And I've got this group of guys. There's about 30 of us that belong to this one country club, and it's just this. They're just amazing guys. Okay, yeah. I love every single one of them. And I can say it's they drink. Okay, they can. Good for them. I'm the only sober guy out there, so I'll drive them home. I will make sure they're fine. But one thing that I'm going to do today that they don't know anything, none of this is coming yet. All right. But I am going to send out a group text to everybody, and I'm going to say, this is what happened to this young man today. If you guys don't watch out for your families and get on top of this, I'm going to kick the living shit out of every one of you.
That's awesome, man.
That's the message in essence that I believe that I have been trying to and will continue to try to send out. Okay, to this community, to other communities, until they have to bury me under the orange tree in my backyard. I mean, that's it.
Don't hide the scars.
Don't hide the scars, baby.
Don't hide the scars. Well, what else do you guys want to touch on?
I mean, you kind of hit on. I'm interested in your take on harm reduction, because Flindt and I, very much. We've had a lot of talks about it. And I get it, and I get the meeting someone where they're at. But again, that short term, as a former guest and friend of mine, Alexis said, I didn't get clean to still live in that 2-block radius that I did when I was doing heroin and opioids. Right. So there's something that, I'm stealing from Flindt on this one, because I agree. I have this issue of strapping a young individual, even a middle-aged individual. We get when they're on the upper end, 60, 70 maybe, but when they're younger, just like still being strapped to something. I didn't get sober to do that. Like, I can smoke weed and it doesn't, swing me one way or the other. I had no desire to use it every day, but I didn't get sober to still sit and have some sort of crutch, because eventually there was a chink in the armor that could come in.
Yep.
And it could have become something, instead of, oh, my back hurts and I just want to sleep, was what I used it for, to, I have an anxiety this morning. I can't eat. Okay. I just don't believe in having a chink in the armor.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I'm fully on board with you with my recovery. I had to learn to speak about that specifically, because there are, look, this is a podcast, so it's good for people to get to know who you are and what you do, and without name dropping. I work very closely with a lot of A-list celebrities, the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball. I just recently spoke to the Rams. I was at University of Houston. For my personal recovery, I'm 1,000% aligned with you. However, it goes back to that thing that I was talking with you guys before. As I became a coach, I had to realize that my recovery and the way we think is not the way everyone thinks. And I don't want to make that seem like it was easy.
Right.
I was questioning the teacher. I was questioning the course. I was questioning all these certifications and diplomas I got. But 12-step communities don't own recovery, and churches and bright white light experiences don't own recovery. And everybody is allowed to figure that out for themselves. And it bothers me.
Right.
But I had to learn to let it bother me the way someone thinks LeBron's the GOAT. Like, that's their opinion. You know what I mean? Like, I can give you 6 rings. I could give you all these examples of why he's not. But at the end of the day, it's literally making a Republican try to think like a Democrat, or trying to make a Democrat vote for, Trump. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So you got to work with what you got and do the best you can. And like both of you guys, come with that passion and that fire that maybe it's attractive enough that they're like, I want what these fucking guys have.
Yeah.
But You know, what are you going to do? What are you?
Well, again, Adam, I think that because look, long-term harm reduction, it just sticks up my ass. Okay, it really does. Unless somebody, like Jason says, in their 60s, 65, it's going to keep them off the needle, it's going to keep them off of fentanyl. Then if they want to use methadone or they want to use Suboxone, I don't really care. Okay. But if it's that 20-year-old, 25-year-old, even 40-year-old, 50-year-old, that's going to be strapped to something, I got to take issue with that. And here's why I'm taking a lot of issue with it. No, I don't want to say nobody, but I'll just use it because I can't think of another word. Nobody is talking about straight abstinence anymore. Everybody's talking about harm reduction. And what I'm asking of people is to break that down. Break it down from short-term to long-term. Short-term harm reduction, I don't have a problem with, as long as everybody knows that if you're going to continue using Suboxone, and in particular methadone, which I think is Satan's drug, took me 2 years to get off of that bullshit, okay, that there's going to be some health repercussions from this. There's going to be bowel problems. They had to go in and they had to repair my total insides because methadone constipated me so bad that I tore everything up inside of me. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about what's the harm in long-term harm reduction. Nobody talks about the fact that you know your diet goes to hell. There's numerous things there. And I think everybody, we have a tendency in the United States to go from far left to far right, vice versa, right? Without any type of, hey, what's in the middle here?
Flindt, I'm with you 100%. I may be speaking like a politician at both sides of my mouth, but that's why.
No, I understand, Adam, where you're coming from. I really do.
Hear my, like, what I believe, because I'm saying if this is my life, it's what I believe. For me, I'm 1,000% with you. I would never do it, and I am all of. And recovery to me means I do not drink or use drugs at all.
Right.
Right. At all.
Right.
However, you know, I mean, from you in rehab, you probably know way better than I do. You know, then you come down to working with the individual, and every individual has its own case and its own story. And I like being able to share with you guys that this has been a growing process for me, because I could still make a great fucking argument that you ain't sober until you're off of everything. But I know a guy, and let's use broad statements because I do believe in visions. I know a guy who was a circuit speaker. He was one of my heroes. His name was Ben T, in what we would call the mothership program, you know, the one that started it all.
Right.
And he actually was so hardcore that he believed that if you didn't have a drink of alcohol, you're sober. If you had a slip and you shot heroin, that's not what we're about. We're about singleness of purpose. And I looked at Ben, who I loved like an uncle. You have no idea how close we were. Right. And I was like, you're fucking crazy. You know what I mean? But he was raised, he was an old man, raised at the beginning of this thing, and they believe what they believe.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, it's really, you're dealing with personalities and you're dealing with ideas and beliefs, because he was around when this thing almost was founded.
Right.
You know, like he was that old. You know what I mean? Met the founders, and you know what I mean, and you know, and I gotta tell you, and I love you, Ben, but I couldn't disagree more.
Right. Right.
But so I'm using it now from another angle, right? Like, these are people that, like, in the beginning, singleness of purpose.
Yeah.
Don't even bring that shit up to me.
Right.
Did you do this? No, you're fine. So I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, all I can tell you is I'm with you guys 100% in my own personal recovery.
Right.
And you owning a treatment center, and Jason, I know all the work you've done and all the people you met. I do think sometimes we have to cater to the individual. I'm not a fan. Right. I'm with you guys. I'm not a fan. And hearing what it did to your bowels and your stomach, I mean, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
Right.
But I don't have I don't have an argument in this fight.
Right. And again, and on my side of it, I just want to make sure that people understand that. See, I think that there's a lot of people out there that just, once again, are not given the right information.
Well, I think it goes back to what you said. Tell the fucking truth.
Tell the fucking truth about it.
I love that. That was so.
All right, so you used to buy cocaine a pound at a time. Well, okay, so you say you can drink and nothing. Well, you can say that, but your doctor might tell you your liver, your kidneys, or whatever, or there's some lasting effects. Or it might be that one night you're drinking and some guy pulls out the little vial and goes, "Hey, want a bump?" And I know me. The only time I used cocaine because I was drunk off my ass.
Me too, bro.
So
right.
They went hand in hand.
They went hand in hand. But Adam, I'm going to give you a little story here, okay?
Okay.
All right, story time.
Story time.
Hey, Pam, can you bring the hot chocolate? It's doing story time.
So, you're a recovering alcoholic, and no, I'm sorry, you're not a recovering alcoholic. You're a recovering opiate addict like me. Okay, that's it. So you're 20 years old. You're going to turn 21 on Friday.
Okay.
And you've never been able to walk into a bar legally. You've been in a bar, but you've never walked in there legally. So and by the way, you're not an alcoholic. Okay. You can have a drink or two. And there are people like that. There's a lot of opiate addicts that have stopped opioids, but they can drink. So you turn 21, you walk into the bar. You're not even in there at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night. You're there at 4:30 in the afternoon, 5 o'clock.
Sounds about right.
Right? Okay. So you
got me now. I'm hooked.
Okay. So you sit down, right? You're not even sitting at the bar. You're sitting at a table.
Yeah.
You don't want to look like a drunk sitting up there. So you order your vodka soda with a twist, and you're sitting there and you're just sipping this thing. And some girl walks in, with an ass about this big and the belly button ring, right? And she's cute, and your eyes meet, and you sit down and you start talking. Again, doing nothing wrong. This is as normal an afternoon as any afternoon is.
With you.
And so you order another drink. Again, doing nothing wrong. You're not shit-faced, nothing. And now you order that third one, right? And you're not finished with it yet, and you're laughing. Now you're getting a little closer to her. The eyes are meeting a little bit better. You kind of know where this is leading. And she reaches in her pocket and she pulls out that 80 milligram oxy or that M30 pill, and she slides it across the table and goes, "Hey, you want to go outside and share this?"
You're done.
That kid's fucked.
Fucked.
And not in a fun way.
And not in a fun way, because we all know as opioid addicts, my line of sight is on that pill. Okay. I know I already know the feeling that it is going to give me, and I haven't even used it yet. I don't care about her. I don't care about getting laid. I don't care about the alcohol. I don't care about nothing. And I guarantee you, she's going to have you try that first, just in case it's got fentanyl in it. And again, he's fucked.
He's fucked.
Just a little story.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It demonstrates what we're dealing with.
Right. I'm going to say this actually is a Lakers flannel. And I agree. LeBron James isn't even the greatest one to put on a Lakers uniform.
Amen.
I agree to that one.
Amen.
All right. So Adam, who do you think is the greatest Laker? I got my idea, but
Magic Johnson.
Absolutely.
I have to say this, and I'm going to give you why I'm saying it over Magic and over Kareem and over Jerry West. Watching Kobe was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, if you just, it's difficult for me to put anybody, maybe it's sentimental, right? Because he's not here. If he were here, maybe I'd be like, you know what I mean? But I think between, first off, right there, you have, I think, the top four.
Right.
I was always a Magic guy.
Yeah.
Kareem is arguably for other people that actually like arguments, could be the greatest player of all time, right? Like arguably. Right?
Sure.
So how do you not say it? Jerry West is the logo. But I gotta go with Kobe. I just have to. It just that era of basketball too.
Oh, phenomenal.
Right.
You know, that era of basketball was insane. You know, so it's a very sentimental vote. And honestly, I think it got to a point where, at least for me, I almost can't even think of Jordan without Kobe. They literally like were 1A and 1B.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm voting with my heart and probably not my head.
All right. So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to ask both of you guys one more question. Who do you think was the overall toughest basketball player ever to play the game?
Oh, toughest.
That's a really, really good question.
That's subjective. I kind of got two. Like, it depends on how you look at like toughness, like getting in there.
Mental, physical,
well,
all of it.
I mean, Jordan mentally was the toughest by far.
No
Just
doubt.
his mentality. But
No doubt.
I think people underlook Isaiah Thomas a lot. And as much as I emulated once I saw what my skill sets were and they weren't going to be offensive, when I played basketball, I was a Dennis Rodman guy with that approach.
Dennis could guard everybody, guard Shaq. I'm going to have to go by just like trying to go through my head of what I got to see and what and listen, it's only because of size and tenacity and constant going. I have to actually say Iverson.
Yeah.
I mean, he would not have been able to do what he did.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he got knocked to the floor all the time. But like, what do I know? You know what I mean? It could be Bill Laimbeer. What do I know?
I know what Flint's gonna say.
I would love to. That's what I'm dying to know. Actually, is it Charles
I know
Oakley?
who it is. No, Larry Bird.
It's Larry Bird.
No, he's right. You're right.
Bird.
As a matter of fact, I'm ashamed of myself.
Don't be, because that question is tough.
No. Larry Legend all day long. First of all, do you know how bad his back was?
Oh, right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
No.
That guy, that good old white boy Okie. Okay.
I don't want to talk anymore. Done. I'm embarrassed. You're 1,000% fucking right.
That guy was unbelievably tough, man.
I should have known that.
Oh, you and I with the veil of shame.
Yeah, I'm sitting here. I couldn't. 110% Larry.
Yeah.
Toughest mentally. Toughest on the court.
Oh yeah. Didn't back down from anybody. From nobody. Talk shit would get in your face. I mean, to tell you, he'd throw punches. He would do whatever it took to win. That guy was possessed.
Some great videos, guys. I mean, they're boring, but they're really cool to watch. When they did that Olympic Dream Team, and
I saw it.
And he's laying down he would just literally lay down, no warm up, nothing, because he couldn't play.
Right.
He would lay down the whole practice, and then they call him in, and he was Larry.
Right,
yeah.
right.
He'd
At the drop of a hat.
Yeah. Just come in, switch. You know what I mean? Hit his shots, and come in, and he was in he's wobbling.
So much pain. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's wobbling. Like you just see, it looked like a decrepit old man, and then lay down.
Right. Or then it'd get on the bike. You know,
the bike.
He'd start pedaling the bike, and then next thing you know, God. And to watch him.
He was doing the bike, not for his leg. He was trying to loosen these lumbars.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I remember.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? He was a mess.
Right.
Yeah.
Mess.
Larry Legend.
No, you got to remember when I got into basketball was right when Magic and Larry hit the NBA. So, I was 5-6 years old or so. Yeah. 83. Yeah. Sounds about right. 83, 84, something like that. Yeah. So
remember they had these Converse commercials together?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the Bird Magic thing on HBO?
Loved it.
Oh, yeah. I could watch that over and over again.
Yeah, I see. I feel like the three of us think the same way. I see a lot of themes in like the Larry Bird Magic documentary and the Jordan documentary, The Last Day. I see a lot of themes of that we take for recovery within those. Do you know what I mean? Like
I do.
Just of the discipline, the dedication, the ups and downs of life, the pain, the we becoming a we, what a team is like, what an individual is like. When I watch those, for some reason, something in my recovery radar is always picking up on something that we can use, like the three of us, to help others.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, and I think you take a Jordan, you take a Bird, you take a Michael Jordan, all such different upbringings, you know.
Yeah.
Magic, a lot of ego. Dad played a big role in kind of cooling that. You know, Larry, shitty home life.
Shitty home life.
Shitty home life. Magic, a good one, but being the younger sibling, had a lot of that, having to overcome the big brother and that challenge. And, you know, so there was so much that was presented to them for achieving.
Yeah.
You know? And I think it's, for me, and I love autobiographies, hint, hint, wink, wink. As you know, I don't know how many times I've texted, dude, I just finished that chapter.
It means the world every time you do. I got to tell you that maybe, you know, they hate each other, but I can almost see Larry number one, Isaiah number two, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but I could actually make a case for Iverson number three. If you really
Iverson was tough.
AI of what he went through at that size,
in
carrying those teams and the beatings that he took.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No
Larry,
question.
Larry Legends. That's not people pleasing. That's me admitting I'm wrong. It's an amends.
But I have to tell you this too. Just before we came on, I showed Jason a TikTok clip on Sandy Koufax. When Koufax retired in 1966, he was talking about he retired early, at 31. You know, he was talking about taking that shot every other game so he could pitch. His stomach, and he mentions this, his stomach being upset from taking too many pain pills and being high during the game. This is in 1966 that he was talking about this. I mean, that was a pretty interesting clip.
Yeah.
You know, hearing Sandy Koufax talk about addiction then. Yeah. And in sports.
That's awesome, though, because these are great little tools that we could all use depending on the client or the talk that we're giving.
Right.
Because people identify with that stuff.
They do. They do. And especially if you're talking to athletes, God, they're they could respond to that stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely. You're talking to older, well, not everybody's going to remember who Sandy Koufax was, but some of these young kids, they don't even know who Willie Mays was. Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just a travesty.
That's a travesty. I mean, yeah, but anyway, that's a whole other podcast.
Hey.
Well, round two.
Round two, buddy. We're gonna do it. You have become my new favorite guy. I'm telling you right now.
Wait, I'm honored, man. And by the way, same. Your passion just lit me up. And Jason, I love you, man. We got to talk.
Thank you.
That's some great news. But I was honored to be on with you guys, and I actually really had a good
time.
So do we. Thank you.
I'm glad.
I really did. Like, sometimes you say that.
Right.
You're a guest on another podcast, and you say that because it was a nice thing. It's like I like this last hour and 20 minutes went by really, really, really fast.
Right.
Adam, theme of this: tell the fucking truth.
Tell the fucking truth.
That's it.
What a great. That was it.
Right.
Guys, thank you so much. And honestly, I had such a good time. If you have no guests and you're bored and you just need to fill airtime, give me a call. I'll be on anytime, any day you want.
You got it. We're gonna do it, man. I'd love to get together with you sometime too, in person, and just whether it's we're going down there, whatever it is, man. I'd love to do it.
I'm not afraid of an airplane, dude.
You're in Boca.
I'm in Boca.
Oh shit, we're on the next.
He was in Boca.
We're on the next plane.
and by the way, I'm not afraid of an airplane either.
You got it.
Guys, thank you so much. This was a really enjoyable conversation. I really had a good time.
Great.
Awesome. Mr. Andersen.
Thank you again, Adam. Just this was beautiful. Love you, man. This was
you too, brother.
This was good stuff.
Yeah.
I have nothing else to say except it was just fucking great.
I was great. I feel the same way. I feel the same way.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call Parents and Addicts in Need at 559-579-1551 or check us out online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media at Pain Nonprofit. Please subscribe to the podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. To donate, please click the link in the description and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.
This podcast contains the views and opinions of hosts and their guests to the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for informational purposes only. And because each person is sharing their unique perspective, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast and website are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Privacy is of the utmost importance to us. For those wishing anonymity, people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect confidentiality at the request of certain guests. This website or podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including but not limited to establishing standard of care in a legal sense or as a basis for expert witness testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or website. In no way does listening, reading, emailing, or interacting on social media with our content establish a doctor-patient relationship. If you find any errors in any of the content of this podcast or blogs, please send a message through the contact page.